Now, I've just been told I was on mute. As I was saying, I hope you can all hear and see us, but welcome to our online open meeting. Now, I've remembered to unmute my microphone. The rest of things should go much smoother. We are recording, and so if you experience any issues, you can always watch the meeting at a later stage. I'm Katherine Leopold. I'm chair of the Alumni Association, and I'm joined today by Professor April McMahon, who's Vice President for Teaching, Learning and Students, and Richard Screaton, who is the Deputy Director, Alumni Engagement in the Division of Development and Alumni Relations at the University of Manchester. So Richard wins the longest job title competition today. We're going to be starting with a presentation from Professor April McMahon. I will then give a verbal update on how our alumni have been getting involved with the life of the university. We're going to be taking your questions towards the end of the meeting, and you can ask questions using the Slido link on the screen. Apologies in advance if we're unable to get every question in our hour together. If your question isn't answered or you would like to get in touch with us for any reason, please email alumni@manchester.ac.uk. And now over to April.
Thank you. I'm struggling with the unmute button as well. It must be today's theme, I suspect. So welcome everybody. I know some of you will be watching this back later. Some of you are joining us live. Thanks so much for your interest in how everything is going in our university. And I'm very pleased to give you a little bit of an update. Again, sorry if I don't get to your best bit, to a particular thing that you would want to hear about, but feel free to ask questions as we go along. So let me tell you a little bit about university successes over this past year. I want to reassure everybody, first of all, as we emerge from the pandemic period, that wherever you live and work and make an impact, if you are a Manchester alum, then the value of your degree is going to be widely recognised. We're continuing to be one of the world's foremost universities. We're 28th in the world, we're 6th in the UK, according to the QS University World Rankings. And beyond our reputation as a centre of academic excellence and pioneering research and discovery, we're obviously being more and more recognised for the contribution that we make to wider society and the environment. And social responsibility is one of our main strategic priorities. So we're still quite unusual as a university in that we've got those three pillars of research and discovery, teaching and learning, and social responsibility absolutely side by side. And in April of this year, our focus on social responsibility culminated in the university retaining its position in the Times Higher Education University Impact Rankings, which rates institutions on their contributions to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And we remained in the top 10 in the UK and indeed in the world in that index, 9th in the world, 2nd in the UK and in Europe. To go from the successes to something that I know none of us are enjoying, the cost of living crisis. Obviously, the rising cost of living is impacting everybody, and that includes our students here on campus, and some of them are really struggling. So I want to thank everybody who's been helping and supporting through gifts to our hardship funds and our cost of living fund to support students. As a university, we've set up a joint cost of living working group, and that's between the university and Students' Union. We've worked really closely together on this, and we've been identifying ways that we can help and support our students and really make a difference. And the university's put in about £360,000 in funding to enable a range of support measures, and that includes cosy campus spaces. So that's where you can go and not have to spend money in between your lectures and classes, microwaves, kettles, hot water, washing up facilities, all of that. We've been simplifying applications to our living cost support fund and give more support to those students who really need that immediately. There's a special emergency fund within that where we know that we can get payments out within 24 hours. There is a trained money advisor that we've hired to sit in the Students' Union and give support to students. We're bringing on more student jobs on campus. We know that there's real reluctance among some of our student communities to apply for living cost support funding, but they'll take a job. And we'd much rather they had a job on campus and really supporting with our projects than maybe some other jobs that might not enhance their lives quite as much. So we're really pushing hard on student employment. And we've given a lot of that funding as well to the Students' Union. Some of that is a recreational grant, and that means that students can take part in social activities. Joining the gym is really quite expensive if you're worried about how you're going to eat tomorrow. And yet we know that well-being is really enhanced by taking part in sports and social activities. So we're supporting that way. And some of you might have seen the announcement just last week that we're also making a one-off cost of living support payment to absolutely every student in the university who is studying mainly on campus. And that's a total of a £9 million commitment. So that's £170 to each student and targeted support for particularly vulnerable groups, which we'll be bringing out in February. But those first payments will come out before Christmas. So talking about support for students, in response to the war in Ukraine and other global conflicts, we also launched a new scheme earlier this year for international students who have been displaced because of armed conflict, or they're at risk of personal violence or persecution because of their race or religion or nationality or another protected characteristic. And those scholarships are for people who couldn't afford to study at Manchester without that financial support. And this year we were really delighted to welcome 16 students from 3 countries, including 8 from Ukraine. And they've received a scholarship that will cover their fees and their living expenses and visa costs. And a special thank you to one of our alumni, Jan Fulgoni, who is chair of the North American Foundation for the university, who has made a major contribution to those scholarships. So thank you so much. Turning to student safety, safety of students on campus and in the city is a really major issue for us. Not an issue because we're especially worried about it, but we're a big city, we're a big campus, there's lots of people. And we want to make sure that we are really supporting students and helping them to feel that they can go out and about and enjoy themselves in the city and not be worried. So that's a really top priority. And in this last year, we've created what we call the Manchester Safe Zone Alliance, and that is our university, University of Salford, Manchester Metropolitan University, and security staff from each campus provide reciprocal support. So we cover different zones within the city, and we'll give reciprocal support through those security services to each other's staff and students. And there's an app that you can put on your phone, Safe Zone app, and if you're in a crisis situation or you're just worried, you feel a bit vulnerable, you just press a button and the nearest security service from one of those 3 universities will pick up and give you a bit of help and support and advice. And we've also launched a range of campaigns, including Never OK, which is a joint campaign by, again, those 3 universities, promoting a culture where sexual harassment and violence is never going to be tolerated. So there's a lot of activity going on in terms of student safety and staff safety and well-being. Now, turning to research, because I'm sure that some of you saw the announcements in the course of the year about our really stellar performance in the Research Excellence Framework. That's the national and international way of ranking and recognising university research in the UK. And our submission to the Research Excellence Framework in 2021, but we got the results in 2022. It was one of the biggest in the UK, 31 different subject areas. And we were really delighted with the outcome. So 93% of our activity, excuse me, in research was assessed as world leading or as internationally excellent. And that's because of real dedication and creativity of our colleagues. And they are working every day to solve really significant world problems and to make a genuine difference. And if you want to look online, in our research site, you will see a range of different case studies, which don't just tell you about the research we're doing, but really importantly, it also tells about the impact of that research. So how is it really doing stuff out in the world to improve people's lives and to make that difference that a socially responsible university would want to make. And as if by magic, you can see the web address for looking at all of those research case studies. We'll make sure that we put that up on the screen for you. Let me tell you a little bit about something you might have heard about, which is ID Manchester. And that's one of our key goals as we move into our third century. And that's to be recognised as the top university in Europe for innovation. So what's ID Manchester? If I spell it out in full, it's Innovation District Manchester. And it's going to be the part south of Piccadilly Station, south of the city centre, and where our North Campus has been for the last 20 years or so, since we've been this composite University of Manchester, and it's going to be an innovation ecosystem, which includes a major partnership investment. It's a £1.5 billion joint venture. It doesn't sound too bad when you say it quickly, does it? Between ourselves and Bruntwood SciTech. And this is going to be a place where businesses can co-locate with other similar businesses. They'll be close to key pools of talent and research expertise, knowledge hubs. They'll benefit from great transport, digital connectivity, and enjoy the dynamism of having a really mixed use site and be right next door to the university. And that also has a number of benefits for our students. Our students will be, we envisage, employed in those tech companies. They will have work experience opportunities that we're developing planning for, and there will also be sponsored student startups as part of that innovation district. And as it happens, it also means that for the first time in 20 years, we have got absolutely all of our students on the main campus now. And with MECD, the Manchester Engineering campus development having now opened, we've got all of our students right close together. It's a really buzzy environment in MECD. And it's also been a real contribution to the Students' Union, telling us that we're now not just back to pre-pandemic levels of engagement in student union societies and activities, but we've surpassed that. And I'm sure that that's partly because we've got all of those engineering students who now don't have to think about walking in the rain from North Campus down to main campus. They are right next door. Before I finish, I've got two calls for action, calls to action for you. The first one is about our bicentenary. We have a big birthday coming up, and that is in 1920. What am I doing? 2024, and that reflects the fact that we trace our roots back to the Manchester Mechanics Institution, which was founded in 1824. That's where the 1824 came from. And in 2024, we'll therefore celebrate 2 centuries of education and innovation and impact with all of our staff and students and alumni and external friends and stakeholders. And you can imagine how planning that party actually works through. It takes a lot of people and a lot of energy to do that. And that means that we'll be looking for a lot of good ideas. And that includes good ideas from your good selves, So please look out for messages from us, look out for communications about how we should mark our bicentenary year and how you might be involved. And we really hope that you will choose to be involved. That will be some party, a very big purple party. Last thing around calls to action, and this is for those who have graduated in the last couple of years. We have a big annual survey. It's a national survey. It doesn't come from us as the university, but it does reflect on us. It's part of the information that the Office for Students uses to determine how universities are performing. And it's called the Graduate Outcomes Survey. And it is to figure out what you're doing and where you are in your career planning and what you're employed as, or whether you're self-employed, whether you're studying 15 months after you graduate. So you will get a survey invitation from an organisation called HISA, and that will come through about 15 months after you finished your course. So if you finished your studies between the 1st of May and the 31st of July in 2021, so not this calendar year, but last calendar year, please check your junk mail, because you might have a HISA invitation in there saying, please participate in graduate outcomes. It would be really amazing if you would respond. The survey genuinely helps our current students and our prospective students to figure out what a University of Manchester education can lead to. And you are the ones who can tell them that, because you're living it now. So we would really appreciate it if you could fill that in. And if you finished your studies right at the end of 2021, between August and October, your turn is soon. You will be getting something through from HISA between December and February. So please keep an eye open for that. If you finished your studies later than that, please keep your details up to date with us. You can do that at www.manchester.ac.uk/update. And that just lets us grab your details with your permission and make sure that we keep you up to date with what's happening. Two very final things. Our new Chancellor, Nazir Afzal OBE, was officially installed as our Chancellor at Foundation Day last month. You may have heard of Nazir's work as Chief Crown Prosecutor for North West England, and he was formerly Director in London. He was Chief Executive of the country's Police and Crime Commissioners, and most recently he's been National Advisor to the Welsh Government. And during a 30-year career, he's prosecuted some of the highest profile and most important cases in the country, and has led nationally on several legal topics, crucially including violence against women and girls, child sex abuse, and honour-based violence. Now, the Chancellor, if you're not sure what Chancellors do, he's the ceremonial head of the university, and he's one of our most important ambassadors. He works with the President and Vice Chancellor and other senior officers to promote the university's achievements and to give people a conduit into the university to raise important issues. And he's succeeded Lem Cisse, who was an amazing Chancellor, did a huge amount of great work for us. But I'm pleased to say that Lem will be staying within the university community, as he will take up, well, he has taken up an honorary chair in creative writing. So a really warm welcome to Nazir as our incoming Chancellor. And finally, on Foundation Day, we also recognised 3 remarkable individuals who've made outstanding contributions by giving them honorary degrees. And this year we gave honorary doctorates, and we were delighted that they accepted, to the following three people. Dr. Amani Abu Zaid, who is an alumna. She is the twice elected African Union Commissioner for Infrastructure, Energy and Digitalisation. to Edward Astle, who was chair of the Board of Governors at the university from 2016 to August 2022, and Julie Hesmondhalgh. And she is a Manchester-based actor, writer, theatre producer and activist. So you can imagine that that was quite a jolly occasion, actually, and much enjoyed by all. Very, very lovely to get back to Foundation Day at full scale and in person after the period of the pandemic, when the theatres were a bit dark for that kind of activity. So thank you for listening. Looking forward to your questions, but let me hand back to Katherine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, April. It's always so brilliant to hear everything that's been happening. Now, I was one of the people fortunate to be at Foundation Day and to hear and see Nazir's installation. So we're now going to play a video of an interview with Nazir to introduce him to all of you.
Nazir Afzal is the University of Manchester's newly appointed Chancellor. But who is he? What does that mean for the university? And what does a Chancellor actually do? Today I'll be meeting Nazir himself to find out and give him a tour around campus. Let's go meet him. Well, Nazir, thank you so much for joining me.
Delighted to be here.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day here on campus. And the first question I had for you was, what does a University Chancellor do?
It's a privilege to be a Chancellor. Chancellor technically is the most senior person in the university, but that's not how I see it. My job is to be an ambassador for the university, an ambassador for the students, the staff, everybody that works here, to try and engage with the Greater Manchester region and nationally as well, and internationally as well.
And what drew you to Manchester University specifically to be a Chancellor for?
I've been very fortunate in my career to work with a lot of universities up and down the country and internationally, and now that I've been living in Manchester for the last 11, 12 years, I've always walked past this place and thought, this is a great place. Look at the reputation of this university. 45,000 students, 13,000 staff, 25 Nobel Prizes. The immense talent and ability that's here, you could not want to be involved with it, and I'm delighted to be.
Well, let's keep walking around campus and see some of the sights. Is there a specific part of campus that you like the look of the most and your favourite?
One of the things that struck me is how different bits of it are. Generally you go to institutions and they have sort of one way of building. Here you've got 50 different ways of building. It's almost like a different Lego sets up and down. And I think that's one of the charms of this university, is that you are celebrating difference even in the building.
So now we're here in the Gilbert Square, which is a home of a lot of the main buildings on campus. And what was your university experience like in Birmingham?
More than 3 decades ago. But I mean, it was what set me up for my career. So I learned activism, so I was a student unionist. I learned about advocacy because I was representing other students. I learned to do media training, being able to do a fair amount of that. Public speaking, I'd never done anything beforehand. And all of those things are things that I've built into my career and built my career. So without those skills, without that experience, I would not be the man I am. Simple as that.
And what can students here at the University of Manchester expect to see from you now you're Chancellor?
I hope to be very visible. I've already met with the student union and the student group. I want to ensure that Manchester's reputation is as good as it possibly can be outside, to engage with the people of Greater Manchester and beyond. And I think you will expect me, and I hope you expect me, to do everything in my power to make sure that people see Manchester in the good light that it deserves to be. Aidan, it's really important to me to know what you want from the Chancellor. What does the student community want from the Chancellor? And what's important to you about your student experience?
Having a really visible Chancellor who we feel like is very present on campus and who we can speak to and see the influence of what you're doing, and the positive change in the university and beyond is really key to that. And obviously you've got a background in women's rights and equality, and just continuing to advocate for all of those amazing causes, again, within the university and in the Greater Manchester sphere, is is a huge part of what we're looking forward to seeing you do.
Thank you.
And what are you most looking forward to as Chancellor? Meeting people.
I've been very fortunate to have an induction where I've been going everywhere. I've met hundreds of people already, and there are of course thousands more. These are thousands of Manchester University stories. I want to hear them. I want to know if there's anything I can add in terms of value, what I can do on your behalf, on the behalf of people that work and study here. And I just want to be able to build strong relationships to ensure that the people outside of this university recognise this university as belonging to them. It's critical to my mind, perhaps not so historically, but Greater Manchester needs to see Manchester University as its university. And that's similarly true for the whole of the country. So I'm very much looking to play my part in that.
And now back to me. I'm delighted to be telling you now about all of the things that, or some of the things our alumni have done for the university, our students and your communities over the past year. In the last academic year, nearly 2,000 alumni volunteered to support programmes with well over 5,000 recent graduates, current and prospective students benefiting alongside our communities. I know that many of you have joined and indeed lead activity in your own regions under the Manchester banner. You, our graduates, are the best advert for the university, and you've been encouraging prospective students to study at Manchester. You've been helping them to build their networks and their workplace skills. You've been participating in volunteering activities in your communities that make the university a leading organisation for social responsibility. And you've been helping your fellow graduates connect with each other, representing the university overseas. Thank you. We're always working to find ways that our alumni across the globe can participate in our programmes. So starting with the Manchester Day of Action, which continues to harness the enthusiasm of our global alumni to support the university's social responsibility agenda. It's a global volunteer activism programme, inspiring our inspiring our alumni to continue that support. This year, over 330 alumni have taken part across 9 in-person volunteer projects as part of the Day of Action. This included gathering materials for an orphanage in Kampala, visiting children with special educational needs in Cairo, planting trees and wildflowers in Toronto, beach and litter cleanups in the Netherlands, Sierra Leone and Singapore. Alumni and friends gathered in huge numbers in Shanghai for a Purple Wave run. Alumni in Singapore also gathered for an art, bowling and charity day in Singapore. One alumna gave a food art tutorial over Instagram and inspired alumni to donate to food banks across the world. Every year, alumni create new ways to benefit their local communities and direct volunteer support towards important causes. In this way, alumni worldwide help to keep Manchester as a world-leading university for social impact. As April mentioned, earlier this year, our focus on social responsibility culminated in the university retaining its position as one of the world's leading institutions in the Times Higher Education University Impact Rankings. This rates institutions on their contributions to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, as April explained. And Manchester Day of Action contributes to our position in this ranking. Turning now to supporting student employability. Of course, many of you give up your time to help Manchester students here on campus directly. Ensuring that our students are able to fulfil their ambitions when they graduate, even if they don't know what those ambitions are yet. It is fundamental to what the university does, and Manchester alumni support everything that goes on around this employability agenda. You, our graduates and alumni, have a unique role to play in that. Seeing people who've been in their position and studied the same qualifications as them makes their aspirations seem attainable. There's a famous saying, you can't be it unless you see it. And you're helping that because you've been involved in interactive speed networking sessions, careers panels, you've been giving talks and even speaking from the stage at graduation, inspiring our students as they take the next step in their careers. The themes of these events are as wide-ranging as the careers that our graduates go into. Anthropology, architecture, biology, business, charities, NGOs, engineering, fashion, government, languages, law, marketing, maths, material science, midwifery, nursing, pharmacy, social work. and even more. Alumni have spoken about being entrepreneurs, joining graduate schemes for blue chips and securing work in the UK as an overseas graduate. Students have had the opportunity to hear from alumni working for organisations including Amazon, American Express, Amnesty International, Aston Martin, BNY Mellon, the BBC, EY, KPMG, IBM, some that don't even use initials, Oxfam, Pfizer, PlayStation, PwC, NHS, Rolls-Royce, Save the Children, the Hut Group, United Utilities and the World Bank. And there are others that we haven't name-checked. Thank you to all of you. A particular highlight of our employability work this year included the 10th anniversary of our Global Graduates Programme. Now, I must say, anybody that's met and talked to me knows that I'm a huge fan of this programme. It's distinctive in UK universities. In June, small groups of students, the majority of whom are from widening participation backgrounds, are funded by alumni and donors to participate. They met online with alumni from a range of global business destinations. The programme would traditionally involve students visiting alumni workplaces in country, but due to the pandemic, all students travelled to London to meet with alumni in person there and with international hosts online. I was fortunate enough to be one of the hosts. They were a brilliant bunch of students. The programme helps raise the aspirations of students, giving them the opportunity to meet alumni from a range of countries, which increases their cultural awareness, makes them aware of career options they might not have considered, and increases their confidence in networking. This year, students were able to put their networking skills to the test immediately at an event in London, where they met with alumni and donors after a panel session on the power of networking. It was so brilliant to be back in London in person. It was a fantastic event. But we only have alumni because of successful student recruitment. And 3 things applicants want to know about Manchester are: what's it like to live there? What's it like being a student on campus? And will my degree help me in my career ambitions? Now, the staff at the university can tell applicants lots of useful information, but only alumni can tell the story of what it was like for them. Now, we're working in an online world, so that means we can get groups of applicants together on video calls with panels of alumni in their country. And the stories that our alumni tell have incredible value for these prospective students. We've been trialling this in India and Sri Lanka, and we're now building on it, working with alumni in different global regions to offer online question and answer sessions as part of virtual open weeks to people from the same region as them who are thinking of studying at Manchester. Since the spring, we've also been very busy getting face-to-face as well. We've run in-person receptions for applicants and their parents across the US, New York, Chicago, San Diego and Houston, and in India, New Delhi, Mumbai and Bangalore. Along the way, we've been building teams of alumni contacts in key cities to strengthen those alumni communities where students will come from and where they may return after they graduate. Our success in student recruitment relies on us being able to showcase the success that our graduates have. And one of the ways we do this is through our success in the Study UK Awards. These events are run by the British Council and they celebrate the achievements of returning graduates in their home countries. We've had 7 national level award winners and 5 finalists. Winning Manchester graduates were chosen in China, Singapore, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Egypt, Oman and Saudi Arabia. And finalists came through from Vietnam, Qatar, UAE and Saudi Arabia. One alumnus in Saudi Arabia was recognised in the Education UK Alumni Awards Social Impact category. He was involved in the national clinical trials of a COVID vaccine and in his own time created an Arabic language website which sought to explain the science behind the pandemic responses to a general audience. Fantastic work. As national lockdowns across the world have eased, we've been delighted to see so many of our alumni gathering to reconnect. In-person events have taken place for the first time in over 2 years in locations including Paris, London, Singapore, Dubai, Hong Kong, New York, Toronto, Basel, Geneva, Zurich, Mumbai, Bangalore, New Delhi and Sydney. By the way, no one said when I became chair of the association I'd have to read out quite so many complicated lists at things, but it is testament to the work that's happening. We hosted our our first events in over 20 years in Athens and Nicosia in Greece and Cyprus, and we were delighted to welcome over 100 alumni. If you are planning to get together, do let us know with some notice so that we can promote to other Manchester alumni in your region. We've continued to complement these in-person activities with online events. In the spring, we ran our largest online event to date, hosted by Professor Dame Nancy Rothwell, our President and Vice Chancellor, and this was in East and Southeast Asia. We broadcast over Zoom and WeChat, and nearly 1,000 of you attended to hear from both Nancy and Professor Hu Jae-pak, Chairman of the Alumni Association of Korea. We also heard from a former student about her experience visiting Singapore while taking part in our Global Graduates Programme. 2 of our international centres have celebrated significant anniversaries in the past year. In 2021, the Middle East Centre celebrated its 15th anniversary. The centre has graduated close to 2,000 MBA students since opening in 2006. The anniversary was marked through a programme of celebrations and social responsibility initiatives. The centre partnered with Dubai Cares to build a new school, supported by the generosity of students, alumni and supporters in the region. The school will provide 3 classrooms for 90 underprivileged children in Nepal. Professor Dame Nancy Rothwell visited the centre in September, leading a delegation focused on strengthening collaborations with UAE institutions. Our Southeast Asia Centre also celebrated a milestone, its 30th anniversary. This was marked by a gala event and social responsibility initiative. The centre hosted an art and bowling charity day in November, supporting the Singapore government's President's Challenge, and it raised 40,000 Singapore dollars for its families on lower incomes and with healthcare needs. 180 guests joined on the day, including the guest of honour, Associate Professor Mohammed Faisal Ibrahim, the Minister of State, Ministry of Home Affairs and Ministry of National Development. He's also an alumnus of Manchester. A very special guest also joined, Professor Sir Kosta Novoslov, Fellow of the Royal Society, recipient of the Nobel Prize for Physics in 2010 for isolating graphene, while he was Langworthy Professor of Physics at the university. Much of the work our international alumni engagement relies on is our international volunteers who act as key contacts. Now, you're acting as contacts for the university and for alumni in the regions. We've appointed new alumni contacts in New York City, Sydney in Australia, Bengaluru in India, Tokyo in Japan, Astana in Kazakhstan, Manila in the Philippines, and Madrid in Spain. You can see our full list of international contacts on our website at the web address on screen. As well as sharing your time, expertise and contacts with the university, we know many of you also donate. Last year, 6,000 alumni around the world made a gift to support university projects. Your generosity is making a huge difference to students and research at Manchester. Thanks to you, we were able to award more than 330 scholarships to help bright people from disadvantaged backgrounds join us at Manchester this year. You've also played an important part in research. More than 1,000 alumni donated to help create Manchester's world-leading new cancer centre, which will open its doors soon. More than 100 people raised money for the project by taking part in our Purple Wave Run, raising around £10,000. Thank you so much. Now, it's your opportunity to ask us some questions, so I'm going to hand back to Richard.
Thanks very much, Katherine. So we've got some questions on the Slido. We're going to go with the ones which are most popular as far as possible. So there's a couple of questions on there about access to university library resources and how you can access those. So I can answer that one. In terms of library resources, alumni can access free and discounted e-resources like JSTOR and Sage journals via your.manchester.ac.uk. You can also search some of the digital collections on the library websites. We don't offer exactly the same provision to our alumni as we do to students. the resources are subject to licenses, and so we have to balance the cost of that with the level of demand. But for those of you that can make it to campus, you can apply for graduate membership of the library at the main library customer service desks, and graduate membership allows you to take out 15 books. We do keep it under review, access to the library and to software to make sure that we're doing the best that we can for you. If you are prevented from accessing hard copy books by, for instance, mobility issues, do get in touch with us at Alumni at Manchester and we will seek to support you with that. Okay, that's library access. I'll also say something about career support. So there's some questions about what support we give in terms of careers. Catherine mentioned a lot of the work that our alumni are involved in terms of employability and some of the programs. We do provide career support to graduates for the 2 years after graduation, whether you're in the UK or whether you're overseas, and that includes support on whether you're not clear on what to do when you graduate or whether you do know but you just don't know how to get started. All graduates up until 2 years out can access career support, including one-to-one appointments with careers advisors. All you have to do is set up a Career Connect profile at www.careerconnect.manchester.ac.uk. Appointments are run virtually, so you can access them wherever you are in the world. And again, that's all open to people who are up to 2 years from graduations. In terms of connecting with your fellow alumni for employability support for progressing your careers, there are a couple of ways that you can get to know each other. One is through our LinkedIn group. So University of Manchester LinkedIn group has got 280,000 members, and you can access it from anywhere in the world, and you can ask questions and make connections with your fellow alumni. If you're outside the UK, you can also connect with your regional alumni group, and Katherine made reference to that, and you can see details of the 300 alumni contacts that we have globally, and some specific named contacts on our website at your.manchester.ac.uk. And if you're in the UK and you're invited to volunteer for our careers events on campus, you'll get the opportunity there to kind of network with fellow alumni. And again, if you're a recent graduate, you can also benefit from some of the careers events that we run on campus too, and come back to kind of speak to alumni to help develop your networks and forge the connections that are kind of key to your career. So we've got a question here for April. April, it's a question on what are we doing to ensure academic freedom, and related to that, something on freedom of speech as well.
Sure, thank you. Well, we know that this has been a big issue and people are concerned about. From the point of view of the university, academic freedom is something that we are resolutely committed to, by which I mean people need to have the opportunity when they're working for us or studying with us to talk about things openly and to express their opinions, and to make sure that they challenge orthodoxies, and we give opportunities for that to happen, and that's all absolutely right. When that comes to the freedom of speech question, often we hear concerns about whether universities are somehow stifling free speech. That really isn't my experience. If I can give you reassurance that neither we nor the Students' Union have actually ever stopped anybody coming and speaking at the university or speaking online. And the only time that we would actually say, no, we're not comfortable to have an event go ahead would be if we genuinely feel that there's a risk to public safety, or if we think there's a realistic risk that something will be said that is illegal. And obviously we don't hold with hate speech of any kind. And we've got very, very strong mechanisms through our advice and response team for students and staff indeed to report anything that that has happened that would fall into that category. So I hope I can reassure you that academic freedom is something that we are very committed to as an institution, and freedom of speech within the law likewise.
Thanks very much, April. Got a question on whether we plan to move to a fully plant-based campus like Stirling University has. We're not moving to fully plant-based catering currently. We do offer vegan options across campus. A couple of years ago, we were listed in PETA's top 20 universities for vegan options produced. We do make sure that the food themselves produced, processed, traded in ways that are contributing to local economies and that avoid damaging the planet and are kind of ethically produced and enhance animal welfare. So we are ensuring that there's a range of vegan options on campus. Another question here that I think I can answer. So we've got a question on, let's have a look. What is the university doing around issues pertaining to menopause, care for staff and new research? So our university's signed up to Menopause Friendly to achieve menopause accreditation. While we prepare our accreditation submission over the coming year, we're committed to being a menopause friendly employer. So that means we're going to work to change mindsets and attitudes towards menopause. We're going to make it easy to talk about across campus. We're going to ask everyone to look into and find out about what menopause is and to be able to talk about it openly. It's not just an issue for women. Everyone needs to know so they can support colleagues, friends and families. And those experiencing menopause symptoms need to feel confident and be able to discuss it. And so we're doing a lot of work to support menopause friendly environments. We've marked Menopause Day since 2017. And we're using it as an opportunity to raise awareness and signpost the information and support available. And then we've got a question here about reunions. So if you would like to access a reunion, if you would like to arrange a reunion, please get in touch with alumni at Manchester.ac.uk and we can help you to get in touch with your classmates. We don't organise the reunion for you, but we've got some tips on how to do that and how to get in touch with your fellow classmates so that you can organise your own reunion. So let's have a look if there are any more questions. We've got a question, I think, on strike action and the industrial action that's upcoming, April. Are you able to speak to us about that?
Sure. So you may be aware that the Universities and College Union has exercised its members' right to call industrial action. We've got action short of a strike going on from today. And we have 3 days of industrial action this week and next. We completely understand how important issues of pay and pension are for our colleagues. I've talked already about cost of living. It's a major issue for all of us. I think what I would want alumni to understand is that the pay and the pensions issues are negotiated at national level. These are matters that sit with our sector bodies. So we can't, you know, break ranks as the University of Manchester and do something that's out of line with what's happening at sector level. Of course, we do input into those discussions centrally. I think the main issue for us is to try to protect our students as far as possible over this period of action, and make sure that while we recognise the rights of staff to engage in industrial action, we also try to mitigate the impact of that action on students. They've had a really tough time, our students have, over the last 3 years with the pandemic. So we will absolutely be doing what we can to mitigate. Thanks very much.
Okay. Thanks very much, April. That's about all the time we've got for questions. Before we close, we're going to play one last video from the university. Katherine mentioned our cancer research fundraising in her introduction. We're currently asking our alumni community to help expand our cancer research team with a talented postgraduate researchers, and the donations that we receive in that campaign will help speed up vital research into drug resistance in cancer, which has a devastating impact on many people's lives. So we're pleased to share a short video with you explaining much more about our cancer research fundraising appeal. Please note the video does feature stories from people affected by cancer, so if you would rather not watch, the video lasts for around 3 minutes, so please do rejoin us at the end.
He told me they got small cell cancer, which is one of the worst ones. It was like somebody hitting me in the chest with a mallet. It was, you know, you said you got 69 months to live. It was devastating, yeah. Devastating for my family as well. They were very, you know, they were very upset. It was about 6 or 9 months into my treatment. I went for a scan, and they told me that it really hadn't. It was still going. It wasn't receding.
Well, apart from the anxiety side of things, and never far from your mind, what might be going on, it's fearsome really, not knowing.
Drug resistance is actually a really common problem across many tumour types. So patients may respond very well initially to their cancer treatment, and that might be chemotherapy or one of the new targeted therapies. Unfortunately, what often happens, in some cases the tumour comes back. And the type of lung cancer that I work on and I focus on, it's almost every patient that will become resistant to their therapy.
This is an extraordinary time for our cancer research portfolio and ambitions in Manchester. We have an extraordinary new building that's going up and opening soon that will house both researchers and clinicians together.
Everything comes about by research. Nothing ever moves forward without research, so it's really, really important. Other diseases have been eradicated in the past, so hopefully, you know, cancer will at some point.
Having the best PhD students as part of our program is critical to generating those ideas and actually carrying them through to really elegant research that'll be world-renowned and impactful for our patients.
So what my lab is known for is our work on circulating tumour cells. So we can collect these circulating cells in the bloodstream of the patient before they have their chemotherapy, and we can make a model to study in the lab. So the student has an amazing opportunity to study that drug resistance.
I would say that if you can give anything to help with this research, it's really, really something that helps people like me. I don't know what I would have done without the research that's gone on. Thank you very much.
thank you, everybody. That brings us to the end of today's meeting. I have to say thank you to every single one of you that's joined us live, every single one of you that watches on the catch-up recording, every single one of you that has done something to support your university. I also want to say a very specific thanks to the team. So Richard, Tom, Marcus, everybody involved in putting this meeting together, everybody involved, and I'm not going to list all the names, I've done enough lists today, but I hope you understand how much we appreciate you, how much the hard work that you do enables the volunteer impacts to continue, and how much we value everything that you contribute to the institution. So on behalf of the alumni to the team, thank you very much. We really look forward to continuing to see you all engage. Manchester Day of Action, we've got the biggest party ever thrown coming up for the bicentenary. If you haven't been back to campus to see how it's changing, go back, make an excuse, have a weekend in Manchester, it's still brilliant. And if you get that graduate outcome survey in your inbox, please do complete it. The feedback is really useful and really valuable. But for now, this is Katherine Leopold on behalf of the alumni at the University of Manchester, signing off to this year's open meeting. Thank you, everyone.